After seeing Jian Qingqiu, Huan Qiyou's face was cold. Principal Jian. For the humiliation they had suffered in front of Lingying College, Huan Qiyu had clearly not forgotten, and now he had to show his attitude to Jian Qingqiu. If he was letting it be, wouldn't the other party just step all over them? Huan Qiyu was cold and his expression was ugly, but the smile on Jian Qingqiu's face never changed. Old friend Huan. Previously I was in closed-do cultivation, so I did not know that such a big thing happened, and it made you unhappy. Lingying College is getting bigger and bigger now. Even a guard can treat us like that. It seems that the principal wants us to lose face. The voice of Huan Qiyu was showing his slight annoyance. The thoughts of Jian Qingqiu. How could he not understand them? Retreating? With the simple and clear temperament, how was it possible for him to retreat? He would do anything in his power to win this. They had lived in this inn for 2 days already. If Jian Qingqiu really put any importance on them, then he would have arrived long ago, not just now. He was just showing off. Since he was showing off, then Huan Qiyu would also show him what it meant to show off. Old friend, I am really not aware of this situation, Jian Qingqiu quickly said. When I heard about this matter, I instantly fired the guard. He dared to balk you like this. He truly had no eyes to see how important you are. However, Huan Qiyu was unmoved. Old friend, what the principal said was true. I hope you will be the bigger person, and not squabble with a guard. The vice principal of Lingying College also said, I don't believe that a mere guard has the courage to act like that. Huan Qiyou's eyebrow rose slightly. Today Kenglin College and Lingying College had long since fallen out. Since they were doomed to be enemies, why should he allow his students to suffer? You have to give me an explanation for this situation. Huan Qiyu had a serious expression on his face. This was related to the reputation of the entire college and the face of the students. If Lingying College does not give them an explanation, then they will be ridiculed a lot more when entering the Lingying College. He did not want to see this. Seeing Huan Qiyu being so firm, Jian Qingqiu and Lin Yinghao couldn't help but look at one another. They had not expected that he would be so firm about this situation and not let go at all. They had wanted to make a quick solution or this problem, but now it seemed that it was impossible. Old friend, this happened because of our Lingying College not handling things well. I will apologize to you, Jian Qingqiu said. As for the guard daring to do such things, I will investigate clearly and give you an explanation. Is this good enough? Jian Qingqiu was quick to apologize. What he wanted was to thoroughly defeat the college through the tournament, so he did not care about apologizing for this matter. After the failure of Kenglin College once more, who would care about what Huan Qiyu said? Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked at one another. On the surface this principal was quite good. If they did not know better, they might even be tempted to believe that he would really give them an explanation. However, after experiencing many things, they already knew how to tell the truth from lies. If it was not for the sake of the tournament, Jian Qingqiu would not even have come to find them. Seeing the change in Jian Qingqiu's attitude, the coldness on Huan Qiyou's face faded slightly. Then we will wait for Principal Jian to give us an explanation. What a stubborn old man. Jian Qingqiu's heart was swearing, but on his face a sincere smile was making it impossible to see his true thoughts. Of course, in the last few days, you and your students have lived in this inn. I have already prepared a place for you to stay at the college. Since the problem has already been solved, it would be much better for you to follow us back to the college. Otherwise, others might say that our hospitality is lacking. Lin Yinghao also said, the principal has done the best he could. Tomorrow is the day that the college tournament begins. It is more convenient if you are at the college already. What a group of old foxes. Are they really that afraid that we will run away? Bai Junyi sneered. Tomorrow was the day that the college tournament would begin. It was not before now that they came to ask them to move into the Lingying College. Seeing this, it was likely that they were seriously afraid that they would leave like this. What else could possibly be the reason? Xia Jiqing's eyes revealed her disgust. We have to perform well at the college tournament. Now it was no longer just a question about the college's honor. They were up against a college that they loathed. They would do almost anything to be able to leave the Lingying College victoriously. Haven't they just won 2 consecutive tournaments? What's so great about it? Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Xiaoqing, it's up to you two to beat them up. Bai Junyu's face was filled with anger. Their interaction with Lingyin College had not been pleasant so far. Also, the insult and humiliation they had suffered before, they had not forgotten. Listening to the words of Bai Junyu, Bailey Hongzhuang, and Gong Xiaoqing had a bit of helplessness in their eyes. They had thought that Bai Junyu was preparing to shock the opponents with his strength at the tournament. They did not expect that he was throwing it all on their shoulders. This guy was really, in the end, after the invitation of Jin Qingqiu and Lin Yinghao, Huan Qiyu took Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to Lingyin College. However, this time was vastly different from the first time. This time the president and vice president were personally leading the way. Who would dare to stop them? All the way to the Lingyin College went smoothly, and they all saw what the inside of Lingyin College was truly like. They had already known earlier that Lingyin College had a strong financial backing. The equipment of the college had to be the best of the best, but when they saw it with their own eyes did they realize that it was even grander than they had originally thought. Sure enough, this is a royal college. This is a perfect arrangement. It's just more glamorous and gorgeous. It's actually useless apart from looking good. Xia Jiqing snorted. She was so disgusted with the Lingyin College that all that she saw was useless in her eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang quickly understood the situation of the Lingyin College. The campus was much larger than Kanglin College, and it also had more students. However, she had already heard that a large area of the Lingyin College was exclusive to members of the royal college. The royal family held the highest status here. They were high above and never interacted with the ordinary cultivators. As such, the amount of ordinary students at the Lingyin College was not much more than what the Kanglin College had. Under the guidance of the principal and vice principal, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were slowly led to their accommodation. IT happened to be in the same building as the Beihai College students. Oh, that's the students of Kanglin College. I heard that they were blocked outside the college and left. I did not expect that they would be picked up by the principal and vice principal today. Kanglin College already lost twice in a row. This time they will undoubtedly lose again. The fact that the principal and vice principal have to pick them up. Do they even deserve this honor? Let them be. Today they can feel a bit of prestige. Tomorrow when the tournament begins, they will just be a joke. The cultivators of Lingyin College were obviously looking down on the cultivators from Kanglin College. At the moment when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, they did not hesitate to ridicule them with their words. Listening to the words of everyone around them, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had the same expressionless faces. They had long since expected this. It was obvious that the teachers and the principals of the Lingyin College had been degrading the students of Kanglin College in front of their own students. Otherwise, how could all of them be like this? The students of Lingyin College are all really annoying. Little Black's eyes were full of anger. What a joke! These useless idiots even dared to laugh at their owner? Absolutely looking for death. I want to directly slap their mouths. Little White was even angrier. These people, if they don't want their face, then they could just shut up completely. Kanglin College has lost twice in a row. It is expected that these people will mock us. If I want to shut them up, then I have to rely on my own strength. Bailey Hongzhuang was very casual as she was facing this. The unrelenting sarcasm and the verbal attacks could not affect her at all. Compared to the ridicule she had suffered before, this was truly nothing. Instead of being unhappy about this kind of thing, it was much better to think about how to make all these people unhappy tomorrow. Xia Jiqing was full of anger. These people were truly too much. The faces of Gong Xiaoqing and the others were also ugly. They had always been respected and worshipped in Kanglin College. Now they were the ones to be ridiculed by everyone. The gap was truly too big. Jin Qingqiu also heard the words of the people around him, but he pretended that he heard nothing and never stopped them. The smile on his face even extended slightly. This building has been prepared for you to rest. You can relax until the college tournament begins tomorrow morning. Jin Qingqiu laughed. Huan Qiyu said to Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba, "Bring the students inside and settle. I have some things I need to discuss with the principal." Lu Huayan nodded slightly and immediately led Bailey Hongzhuang and the others inside. Mentor, these students from the Lingyin College are too annoying. As soon as they walked down the corridor, Xia Jiqing couldn't help it anymore and complained. Even the hospitality was so bad. This was truly disgusting. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba's faces were also not pretty. Lingyin College has always been too much. You have been wronged by them. Listening to the words of the mentor, Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed slightly. They were already so unhappy, so they could imagine that their mentors and the vice principal were even unhappier. As long as we defeat the practitioners of Lingyin College tomorrow, then they will shut up completely, Cui Haoyan said coldly. However, the expression on Lu Huayan's face was still solemn. The team of Lingyin College is also very strong. They have a lot of strong cultivators. They suddenly proposed that the tournament was moved forward. Hearing this, the look of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others looked heavy. They had not entered their own rooms right away, but gathered in one together. Tomorrow was the day that the college tournament began. They believed that the two mentors had something to explain to them. After all, they had absolutely no knowledge about the Lingyin College so far. The so-called know yourself and know your enemy determines the victory. They needed to know at least a little information about the other party, so that they could prepare for the fight tomorrow. The strongest of the cultivators in Lingyin College is the crown prince of the Qing dynasty, Nangong Aochen. Nangong Aochen is now 18 years old. 2 years ago his strength had already reached the innate realm. Now that 2 years have passed, I don't know how much he has grown. Nangong Aochen is 18 now, wasn't he only 16 2 years ago? Xia Jiqing exclaimed. A 16-year-old innate realm. This talent was truly one of a kind. Lu Huayan nodded slightly. It is said that he will graduate from Lingyin College next year. So they want to use him as their trump card to win this time. As soon as he had said the words, Gong Shaoqing and the others understood that this Lingyin College is truly too treacherous. Since he would not be there in 2 years when the tournament was supposed to have happened, the chances of winning would be lower, and thus they moved it forward. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba's eyes were also filled with contempt. Lingyin College had done all this step by step, so many dirty methods had been used. In addition to Nangong Aochen, the strength of the second prince, Nangong Xiujie has broken though into the innate realm, and the third prince, Nangong Yujin is not that far from breaking into the innate realm. Besides them there are other cultivators, but these are from the royal family. The three princes are the trump cards of the Lingyin College. Because of this, the pressure on you is immense. Fu Hongba's voice was heavy. If there was only Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin, they still had Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing. Those two could deal with them. However, the strength of Nangong Aochen was simply too massive. The chances of winning were low. Xia Jiqing and the others faced one another. This situation was much more serious than what they had initially thought. They did not expect that Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin were this outstanding. This was going to be a difficult win. I have received news that Nangong Aochen will not appear in the beginning. He won't come out before the finals, so you won't meet him tomorrow. Lu Huayan added. The strength Nangong Aochen held allowed him to obtain this privilege. In front of this tournament, if you wanted to fight Nangong Aochen, then you had to win. It is not meaningful to just participate in the tournament. It was best to give the chance of fighting Nangong Aochen to someone strong. Mentor, then what about the cultivators of Beihai College? Lu Qingyue could not help but ask. Bai Junyu was also puzzled. Yes, what about them? They have also lost 2 consecutive tournaments. Why are they so proud? He really could not understand this point. Obviously they were also losers. Fu Hongba's face showed a bit of helplessness. That is because the first place in the last 2 college tournaments has been Lingyin College, while second place has been Beihai College. Kanglin College has placed third both times. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others suddenly understood. One after another, they had been last. It really sounded quite bad. Seeing the expressions of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, Lu Huayan could not help but say, the reason that Kanglin College is always last is because Lingyin College and Beihai College have joined forces. In the previous tests, the students of Lingyin College severely hurt our students, so it was naturally impossible for them to get good results on the second day. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba's eyes gleamed with anger. If the other side did not use such underhanded means, they might not have failed, but because of their actions they lost in this way. How could they accept it? Seriously, the Lingyin and Beihai colleges are simply too much. Bai Junyu cursed. This was despicable and shameless. The other party did not even want their faces. Lu Huayan was helpless. There might be injuries in this tournament. The other party will claim it was by accident. We are helpless to do anything. This time you must be careful. Even if you can't win, make sure you don't die. Although the results are important, in our eyes, you are more important, Fu Hongba said seriously. When the words came out, everyone's hearts were touched. Compared to many mentors who only cared about results, Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba always put their safety first. The strongest amongst the cultivators of Beihai College is Xiao Lanmei. He has also broken through to the innate realm. Once you meet him you have to be extra careful. As the two mentors explained the situation of the different students from the two colleges, the mood of everyone turned heavy. Lingyin College had two cultivators in the innate realm. There was also one in the Beihai College. These two colleges had united, while Kanglin only had Bailey Hongzhuang at the innate realm. As a result, they were in a difficult position. Gong Xiaoqing was right on the verge of breaking through the innate realm, but a slight bottleneck was in the way. It was a pity that breaking through to the innate realm required opportunities. Only by grasping the opportunity could they successfully break through. Otherwise they had no other choice than to wait. Although the face of Gong Xiaoqing was expressionless, his heart was a bit eager. If he could successfully break into the innate realm, then their success rate would increase a lot. When Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her room, Little Black and Little White had jumped directly from her head and sat on the table opposite to Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, this situation is not very good, Little Black frowned. We do not know how strong this Nangong Ouchen is. Little White nodded. He broke through to the innate realm 2 years ago, and with the cultivation resources and heritage of the royal family, I believe he has at least reached the 4th stage of the Red World. Baisher climbed from the arms of Bailey Hongzhuang onto the table, its face filled with expectations. Master, can I participate together with you? Hearing this, Little White's eyes shone brightly. Yes. Baisher is Master's contracted beast. It should be able to fight alongside you. In the Shengxian continent, a contract beast is also a part of the cultivator's strength, and it can be used without it being considered cheating. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were flashing in deep thought. I don't know the rules yet, but I will know when the tournament starts tomorrow. If you can bring Baisher to the tournament, naturally that would be for the best. If you can't, then there is nothing to do about it. After all, this is a college tournament. They should officially care about fairness, so they might not allow pets to fight. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others gathered outside the house early in the morning. Here, Huan Chuyu, Lu Huayan, and Fu Hongba stood and waited for them all. This college tournament begins today. Tomorrow is also a tournament. The 3rd day is the alchemy tournament, and on the final day is the finale. Huan Chuyu said slowly. Since they went to the ruins, Lu Qingyue had focused fully on refining medicines, so she had a chance of winning this tournament. Not only Lu Qingyue, Lingyin College and Beihai College also had cultivators who participated in the alchemy tournament, so today's fight had 7 people from each college, a total of 21. Amongst these 21, Nangong Ouchen had already advanced to the final, making it so that today, only 20 college students would participate in the battles. This time the fight is related to the reputation of our school. I hope you can all do your best and get good results. Huan Chiyu's voice was solemn, looking at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others with a deep pride. While Nangong Ouchen was the most valued student in Lingyin College, these students were the most valued in Kanglin College. Vice Principal, rest assured, we will do our best. Bai Junyu was the first to answer, his expression serious. This matter was not only about the college's reputation, but also for their own honor and disgrace. Bailey Hongzhuang, Gong Xiaoqing, and the others nodded their heads. Now that they were here, there was no way to back away. Seeing the expressions on Gong Xiaoqing and the others, the faces of Huan Chuyu and the 2 mentors were all happy. You just need to do your best. I believe in your strength, but your life is the most important. Although the tournament states you can't kill, it is hard to avoid getting yourself hurt. You should be careful. We understand. Since everyone is ready, let's set out. Huan Chuyo's face was filled with a faint, prideful expression as he led Bailey Hongzhuang and the others to the ground where the tournament was being held. Today was the most lively day in the entire Lingying College because of the college tournament. Early in the morning, many students rushed to the contest grounds. They wanted to witness the glory of Lingying College. The princes, which are hard to see on normal days, would also appear. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came to the contest grounds, they saw a horde of people. All the students had gathered here. It was impossible to see what was going on inside. Fortunately, a passage had been cleared for them to enter. Otherwise it would have taken them a long time to squeeze through. There really are many students at the Lingying College. Zhang Yunfeng couldn't help but sigh. It is not only students of Lingying College, even normal citizens can enter and watch. That's why there are so many, Cui Haoyan said while shaking his head. Chapter 711. Princess Nangong Yuer. Listening to Cui Haoyan's words, everyone was somewhat stunned. It seems that Lingying College is certain of success and wants more people to see their victory. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrow raised slightly. A college tournament was usually only for the students of the college. Outsiders should not be allowed inside to watch. Lingying College's move was a bit unexpected. Not only this, Lu Qinhua said slowly. It is said that tomorrow at the final, the Qing dynasty's emperor will also come and watch. They are very sure of themselves. Together with the end of Lu Qinhua's sentence, the expression on the others' faces changed again. It seemed that the Lingying College wanted to make this into a big matter. Nangong Aochen is the crown prince of the Qing dynasty. He will be extraordinarily strong in battle. We have to be very careful. Gong Xiaoqing said slowly. After Bailey Hongzhuang and her friends walked into the dense crowd of people, they saw that the cultivators from Lingying and Beihai College had already arrived. The faces of these people held a deep smile. After seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, their smiles even showed a dense sarcasm. The students of Kanglin College are really important. They showed up last. Lu Jingqi said coldly. A woman from Lingying College listened to her words, after which she said, they know that they will be shamed by coming here today. Naturally, they won't come early. The woman was wearing a pink and purple dress. Her skin was fair and white, and her appearance was outstanding. A strong pride and elegance could be seen in her aura. This was the royal princess, Nangong Yuer. They are too much. How bad was Xia Jiqing's temper? The moment she heard the words of Nangong Yuer and Lu Jingqi, she couldn't help but want to argue. However, Bailey Hongzhuang pulled her back and said, they have a lot of people. We won't be at an advantage, so don't let them use us to start a fight. It is better to say they can see the real fight on stage. Xia Jiqing's face turned a myriad of colors, but she knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was correct. If they fight now, then that is not a good thing. I pray for me and Lu Jingqi to be in the same group. I have to tear her mouth apart. Xia Jiqing's eyes flashed with anger. This annoying woman. She definitely would not allow her to be happy. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and the eyes she used to look at Lu Jingqi were cold. This woman was arguing all day long, but her actual strength was so weak. If Xia Jiqing really had the opportunity to be in the same group as Lu Jingqi, that would be good. Then she could be taught a lesson. Gong Xiaoqing and the others directly ignored the words of the people around them. In this kind of environment, only their strength would be able to show their qualities. Like Lu Jingqi, they thought she was just a clown jumping around. After seeing the team from Kanglin College, a deep smile spread across the face of Jian Qingxiu. The next moment, Jian Qingxiu went directly to the high platform, and his handsome face was full of joy and held a smile. Today the college tournament begins. The college tournament is a tradition between our three colleges, which has existed since the beginning of our colleges, in an attempt to promote the cultivation of our students. I now announce that the college tournament officially begins. With the words of Jian Qingxiu falling, thunderous applause spread out around them. Everyone had waited for this moment for a long time. Chapter 712. Love at First Sight. This college tournament uses lottery to determine your opponents. There are 7 cultivators from each college who participates in the contest. Because of the special status of Crown Prince Nangong Ouchin, he directly advances to the final. Hearing this, no one present thought there was anything wrong with this. His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince Nangong Ouchin, was the pride of everyone within the Qing dynasty. At such a young age, he became the #1 student in Lingyin College. His strength was extremely powerful, and his talent was outstanding. They felt he was unparalleled in this world. Because of this, there are only 20 cultivators who will participate in the battles today. In order to show fairness, 5 cultivators from Beihai and Kanglin College are sent to do the picking for the lottery. The winners will successfully advance to the second round. The losers will be eliminated. Jian Qingqiu's words directly introduced the rules of the tournament to everyone. His words were simple and clear. If there is no doubt, you can start the drawing process now. Jian Qingqiu's face was filled with a big smile as a lottery box appeared in front of him. Inside the box were all the students' names. The students who had been picked to do the drawing were on the high platform, and when they took out a name, that name would be plotted down. Neither Bailey Hongzhuang nor Gong Shaoqing went to draw. However, their opponent was they were prepared. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin were looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with shock. They had not expected that she was a member of the Kanglin College team. So, were the words said by Mo Yunjue that day fake? After all, the cultivators from the Kanglin College had not arrived in the Qing dynasty before 2 days prior. How could they possibly know Mo Yunjue? Yujin, did they trick us? Nangong Xiujie's face was gloomy. He was so old, but he had never been played like this before. Because of the actions that day being too big, even their father, the emperor, had blamed them for what had happened. Since this matter affected the way their father looked at them, they could definitely not let it go. Nangong Yujin's face was also ugly. If that is the case, then Mo Yunjue's courage is too big. They are imperial princes, but to treat them like this, was this no different than how monkeys were treated? Even if he has a certain background, he cannot be so excessive. After asking our third sister, we will know. Nangong Xiujie's eyes sparkled as he was in deep thoughts. Mo Yunjue was not a simple character. They can't just do as they please. They had to find out the ins and outs of this matter. Nangong Yujin's eyebrows rose slightly. I'll ask her. Since the first time Nangong Yue saw Mo Yunjue, she had been very concerned about him. She did everything to see him often, but even though he avoided her, she never gave up. For news about Mo Yunjue, they believed that Nangong Yue would definitely know more than them. Yue, have you seen Mo Gongzi recently? Nangong Yujin asked. Hearing the question, Nangong Yue's eyes flashed in a strange color. Third brother, why do you ask me about Mo Gongzi? She knew about the character of her third brother. He would never ask without a reason. Chapter 713. Mo Yunjue's wife. This third brother is just worried about your future. You are not young anymore. Father is quite upset about your marriage. Nangong Yujin's face was full of smiles. He seemed friendly, and would never let her know what he was actually thinking. Hearing what he said, the eyes of Nangong Yue changed slightly. Third brother, can you tell me what you heard father say? Nangong Yujin shrugged. I know you like Mo Yunjue, but what would you say if he had gotten married already? When the words came out, Nangong Yue immediately shook her head. That would be impossible. How can you be so sure? Nangong Yujin raised an eyebrow. Of course I am sure. Nangong Yue did not hesitate to answer. She got quite suspicious after hearing the words of Nangong Yujin. Normally he did not pay any attention to these things, but why would he care today? If there was an abnormality like this, something bad was likely to have happened. Nangong Yue did not believe that Nangong Yujin just asked for fun and immediately requested. Third brother, what happened exactly? Tell me directly. Nangong Yujin had originally planned on testing Nangong Yue, but now that he saw how concerned she was, he told her the truth. On the first tower, I saw Mo Yunjue hold a child and look for a young and beautiful woman. He called this woman his wife. Originally I believed in it, but today I saw her appear in the team of the Kanglin College. I felt it a bit strange, so I came to ask you. If Mo Yunjue truly has a child, you should stay away from him. As a member of the royal family, it is impossible to look at feelings. But Nangong Yuer was quite serious about Mo Yunjue. Also, Nangong Yuer is his third sister. He does not want to see her cheated. As he finished speaking, the look of Nangong Yuer instantly became ugly. How is it possible? She had never heard about this. In the past, Mo Yunjue was always alone. Not to mention a wife. She had never even seen a woman around Mo Yunjue. Nangong Yuer's mind kept swirling around it, until she suddenly remembered that Nangong Yujin said that Mo Yunjue's wife was in the Kanglin team. She immediately asked, "Third brother, who is the woman you said was with Mo Yunjue? What woman in this tournament could compare to her?" As to whether or not he is already married, the fact was that he treated the woman specially. She would like to see which woman would dare to grab her man. Nangong Yujin lifted his head slightly and looked in the direction of Bailey Hongzhuang. "It's the woman from the Kanglin team in the white dress. Bailey Hongzhuang." Hearing this, Nangong Yuer could not help but blink. She had already noticed Bailey Hongzhuang, because it was simply impossible not to pay attention to her. Even though she was unwilling, she had to admit that Bailey Hongzhuang was amongst the most beautiful women in the world. She is from Kanglin College. How can she know Mo Gongzi? Nangong Yuer looked suspicious. There was simply no way they could have interacted. "Third brother, are you perhaps mistaken?" Chapter 714. Lottery Results. Nangong Yujin shrugged. "If your third brother can make a mistake with such a thing, then I am definitely not your third brother. This is not something only I saw. Even second brother was seeing it with his own 2 eyes." Nangong Yujin did not say much after having said this, and went straight back to where he was before. Seeing that Nangong Yujin was so serious about it, Nangong Yuer was no longer doubtful. Next, her eyes fell onto Bailey Hongzhuang again. This damn woman dared to grab her man? With her identity as a princess, how could Bailey Hongzhuang as a civilian ever compare? Anyway, she had decided on Mo Yunjue, so Mo Yunjue could only become her man. As for any obstacles she encountered, she would eradicate them completely. Bailey Hongzhuang was waiting for the result of the lottery, when she suddenly felt a gaze, filled with hostility, focused on her. She could not help but look towards the source of the gaze, where she saw Nangong Yuer stare at her with a malicious expression. It was as if they were enemies unable to live under the same sky. In Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes was a bit of doubt. Although she and Nangong Yuer is in different camps, and were unlikely to like each other, it is strange to suddenly have such hatred for one another. Even if she offended Nangong Xiujia and Nangong Yujin, these two people had yet to act. What was the deal with this girl? After thinking about it for a bit, Bailey Hongzhuang decided to directly ignore it. Since Nangong Yuer hates her so much, naturally she will understand it at some point. Soon the results of the draw were out. Lin Yinghao slowly read what people had drawn. Xiao Lanmei fights against Nangong Yujin. Bailey Hongzhuang is against Lu Jinglin. Xia Jiqing against Lu Jingqi. Soon everyone knew their opponents. The people from Kanglin College were fortunate to have not drawn anyone from their own college. However, 2 cultivators from Beihai College drew each other. However, whether or not Kanglin College was lucky was yet to be determined. Because when you draw your own students, at least one from your college will advance. If they win their battles, it is naturally the best. And if they advance, then Beihai College will be worse than them. When Xia Jiqing saw that she had drawn Lu Jingqi, she was excited. This damn woman. Today she could teach her how to behave. Lu Jingqi was also happy when she heard that her opponent was Xia Jiqing. If someone asked her who she hated the most within the Kanglin team, she would not say Bailey Hongzhuang but Xia Jiqing. Today is a chance to give Xia Jiqing a lesson. Jingqi, you have an opportunity to solve your hatred. Perform well. Lu Jinglin gently placed a hand on Lu Jingqi's shoulder. Every tournament is a good chance to show off. If you have good achievements at this tournament, it will be a great help for your future. Sister, rest assured, I will definitely get her to bed for forgiveness. Just Lu Jingqi's mood is bad when she thought about her sister. From the mentors they understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was very strong. She was afraid that her sister was not her opponent. Lu Jingqi and Lu Jinglin were thinking the same at this moment in time, and both felt very helpless about Lu Jinglin's luck. It was said that Bailey Hongzhuang and Gong Shakuing are the strongest in the Kangling College. Although her sister is not weak, the last time they fought, Bailey Hongzhuang had already shown the difference between their strengths. This time, she was afraid that Lu Jinglin would lose. Sister Yu. Lu Jingqi worried about her sister. She was clear about her sister's personality and was afraid that she was extremely depressed. Lu Jinglin waved her hand. I am afraid I will lose this game. As long as you do well, it will be enough. Hearing this, Lu Jingqi also nodded her head. Sister, don't worry. I will help you let go of your bad breath. Nangong Yuer was unhappy that her opponent was not Bailey Hongzhuang. If it was Bailey Hongzhuang, she would kill her directly. This way, Mo Yunjue would still be hers. I hope that you can survive this round. Nangong Yuer's eyes were filled with malice. There was a ray of poison deep within. Amongst all the practitioners, the fight between Xiao Lanmei and Nangong Yujin was the one that they were most unhappy about at the two colleges. The strengths of both Xiao Lanmei and Nangong Yujin were good, but now one of them had to be removed right away. This made the two colleges unhappy. It was a shame that only one of them would remain. When the result was over, Bailey Hongzhuang went to the arena, not hesitating at all. Right now there were 10 arenas set up on the tournament field. They had been prepared for the first 10 matches. If they had to wait for the people to fight one after another, they would waste too much time on the first round. Therefore Lingying College had arranged 10 arenas to shorten the time. Also the first round was the last interesting. The further into the tournament they got, the more exciting the fights would become. Bailey Hongzhuang directly jumped onto the arena that was marked for her. Her dress was fluttering in the wind. Her ink-black hair was also gently flying, and in her hand was a transparent glass sword that shone with a colorful light. It's just that although it was immensely beautiful, a cold chill made the crowd understand that they should not enjoy the scenery now. Lu Jinglin appeared on the other side of the arena. Her face was pale and obviously she was in a bad mood. We meet again, Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. She had never thought of this result in the lottery. Lu Jinglin was only at the mysterious heaven stage. She couldn't pose a threat to her. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't think that just because you are a little stronger. This time at the college tournament you are bound to lose. Lu Jinglin taunted Bailey Hongzhuang. She would not let her be proud. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up into a sneer as she answered. The results of the college tournament is still unknown. I only know for sure that you will be defeated by me. When the words came out, Lu Jingqi's face suddenly became gloomy. The words of Bailey Hongzhuang were impossible to refute. The referee also felt the spark of dislike between the two of them, and immediately said, "Let the fight begin." Chapter 7:16. Victory. When the voice of the judge fell, the strength of Bailey Hongzhuang soared into the sky, and she poured her yuanli into her legs. Although Lu Jinglin knew that she was not the opponent of Bailey Hongzhuang, she had to show her strength. In any case, she had to persist for a while. Even so, losing to a student from the Kangling College was already a great shame to her. Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly took a step forward. A violent fist burst into the air, and without hesitation, it shot towards Lu Jinglin. Lu Jinglin's figure quickly retreated. Her strength is not as good as Bailey Hongzhuang's. Facing her directly would be suicide. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had already known she would retreat. How could she possibly let her escape? The audience saw Bailey Hongzhuang's fist fall directly onto the chest of Lu Jinglin. Direct hit. Lu Jinglin could not help but retreat several steps. Her face was pale, and her eyes flashed with horror. She clearly knew that she had already dodged. But Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be able to guess her movements. The position of the fist was aimed at the place she had dodged towards. How could this be? Lu Jinglin found it hard to believe. Had Bailey Hongzhuang already guessed her reaction? When she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, she saw a slight smile on her face. The blow was truly not difficult for her. If she wanted to deal with Lu Jinglin before she entered the ruins, perhaps she would have needed some thought and consideration. But now, there was simply no problem crushing her. The strength of Bailey Hongzhuang was already stronger than that of Lu Jinglin. On top of this, she was not showing any mercy, so Lu Jinglin found it hard to bear. The scene back in Longguang City seemed to be replayed in Lingying College. Lu Jinglin only felt that her internal organs had been shifted around. The pain that emerged from the body was intense. Just as she was ready to stand up, Lu Jinglin felt a burst of blood rush to her throat, making her vomit blood. The previous injury that Bailey Hongzhuang had given her had not completely vanished. At this moment, with another fist attack, the situation was even worse than the first time. This is why they had done everything to not fight Bailey Hongzhuang before the tournament. If they were injured by Bailey Hongzhuang before the tournament began, they would be at a direct disadvantage. However, Lu Jinglin did not expect her luck to be so bad. The last thing she wanted was to face Bailey Hongzhuang. She had not expected that this would happen. She wanted to continue fighting, but she could understand that with her current condition, it was simply impossible. Bailey Hongzhuang won. The judge announced without hesitation. Before the battle started, she had never thought that this would be the result. Defeated in one move. Just one attack. She had been looking down on the Kanglin College, but now she was simply defeated like this. In one move, this was truly embarrassing. The audience was also stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Jinglin are both beautiful women. There were many people who paid attention to their fight. They thought that since the Beihai College had always pressured the Kanglin College, the winner of this battle should be Lu Jinglin. However, no one thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would win the first match so overwhelmingly. Chapter 717. Slapping faces. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly and elegantly walked down the arena and back to the place allocated to the Kanglin College. Amongst all the ones battling, she was the one who finished the battle first. The other cultivators were still on the arenas and battling with all their might. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba saw that Bailey Hongzhuang solved the battle so fast, their eyes showing some strange gazes. Although they knew it was impossible for Bailey Hongzhuang to lose, it was shocking that the battle ended in only one move. Isn't it said that the cultivators of Kanglin College are weak? That Bailey Hongzhuang used a single attack to defeat Lu Jinglin. Is this considered weak? Some of the citizens could not help but gossip after seeing this scene. All along, under the illusion that the Lingying College had painted of Kanglin College, then they all thought that they were weak and powerless. They even thought that the college should be closed directly, that it was a mistake to continue existing. One attack to defeat their enemy. This proved that her strength was not just a bit stronger than Lu Jinglin. That's not necessarily so. Maybe this Lu Jinglin is simply too weak. Look at the other arenas. Who is losing that fast? You said it right. This Lu Jinglin is simply too weak. Lu Jinglin, who originally had a bad mood after losing, had an ugly face after hearing how people were talking about her. She had really become useless now. This was making her unable to accept. The proud her was filled with frustrations. At Beihai College she was a genius pursued by all. Now she was said to be weak. This was a fatal blow. Mo Xinghai and Duan Yinggu apparently had not expected that Lu Jinglin would lose so fast in a face-to-face contest. This was truly losing face for the Beihai College. The two were too angry to even bother about Lu Jinglin and her injuries. Even if she was going to lose, she could lose in a much better way. The way Lu Jinglin lost was like a slap to their faces. They used to mock the Kanglin College for being the weakest amongst all the colleges. Now that they failed in this way, they were angry. Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about Lu Jinglin. Her eyes were observing the other platforms. Gong Shaoqing's strength was good. At this moment he was pressuring his opponent. She was quite certain that he would win the battle after a short amount of time. The situation of Dongfang Yu was also quite optimistic. Although the opponent was quite strong, the two of them were equal, but there was a confident smile on Dongfang Yu's lips that made her understand that he was certain of his victory. The situation of Zhang Yunfeng and Bai Junyu was not too optimistic. Zhang Yunfeng's opponent was Nangong Yuer. Although Nangong Yuer was a spoiled princess, her strength was not exaggerated. The tournament clearly showed that the Lingying College had some skills. Zhang Yunfeng's strength was not weak, but Nangong Yuer was obviously better, suppressing Zhang Yunfeng in everything she did. Master, Zhang Yunfeng is going to lose. Little Black slowly said. Nangong Yuer is not showing all her strength. From beginning to end, Nangong Yuer never regarded Zhang Yunfeng as a real opponent. She never did her best in attacking. Chapter 718. Nangong Yuer provokes Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. The judgment of Little Black and Little White was not wrong. Nangong Yuer had broken through to the innate realm. Sure enough, the royal family's members were not simple. In fact, no matter what rich resources the royal family owned, it would be hard to not have a good cultivation. In comparison, it was obvious that Nangong Yujin was the worst from the royal family in the tournament. His sister had already broken through into the innate realm, but he had not. It was obvious that this young man only cared about women. Since that day she had gotten a better understanding of Nangong Yujin. The third prince of the Qing dynasty was famous for his lust. Not only was he often visiting the brothels, if he found a beautiful woman on the streets, he would take her home directly. For this reason, the reputation of Nangong Yujin was quite bad in the Qing dynasty. It was only because of his identity as the third prince that no one dared say anything. The second prince, Nangong Xiujie, was somewhat better, but not by much. On the other hand, the crown prince Nangong Ouchen was very loved by the people. Not only was he immensely strong, he had never done anything wrong. Bang! With a heavy blow by Nangong Yuer, Zhang Yunfeng was hit and fell directly from the platform, causing the battle to end. After winning, Nangong Yuer looked directly at Bailey Hongzhuang, her chin held high and her pretty face filled with provocation. Master, this Nangong Yuer seems to really hate you. Little Black's eyes were doubtful. Nangong Yuer's attitude was obviously filled with provocation. But when did their owner offend her? Bailey Hongzhuang just shrugged, her expression innocent. She had no understanding as to why Nangong Yuer had this attitude towards her. In the end, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes landed on the arena where Xia Jiqing was fighting. Xia Jiqing and Lu Jingqi could be considered equal. Everything seemed even so far. None of them were retreating, and they kept attacking the other's vital points. The hatred between the two was deep, and now they finally got a chance to let it out. Bang! Xia Jiqing's hands used the long red whip she could not afford in the Wubao pavilion. After seeing that Xia Jiqing liked it, Bailey Hongzhuang bought the long whip and made Xia Jiqing use it in the tournament. Lu Jingqi was using a long sword and was also rushing to attack Xia Jiqing. It was just that whenever she attacked, Xia Jiqing could use the long whip to entangle her sword. Upon seeing this, Lu Jingqi did not panic. Yuanli continued to enter the longsword's range and slowly managed to unravel the long whip's entrapment. They were constantly fighting, but no one knew who will win. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was focusing on the battle between Lu Jingqi and Xia Jiqing, Gong Xiaoqing and Dongfang Yu walked up to her side, as they had finished and won their battles. Hongzhuang, you were so fast at finishing the battle. Dongfang Yu's face was filled with emotion. He had seen her finish the battle before his had even begun. Chapter 719. Time to end this battle. Bailey Hongzhuang just smiled lightly, but without waiting for her to say anything, Lu Huayan's voice that was filled with laughter already rang. Bailey Hongzhuang defeated Lu Jinglin with one stroke. It gave us a good head start. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba's mood was quite good, now that Bailey Hongzhuang, Gong Xiaoqing, and Dongfang Yu had won. This score was not considered bad at all. It was still uncertain who amongst Xia Jiqing and Lu Jingqi would win, but if Xia Jiqing won, then they had managed to advance 4 people. Compared to the last 2 times the tournament had been held, this was a much better result. Zhang Yunfeng, Bai Junyu, and Cui Haoyan were filled with a feeling of defeat. They had lost and could not pass the first round in the tournament. Mentors, I am sorry. The mood of these 3 were immensely bad. They knew they needed good results in the tournament, but they were unable to even get through the first round. They felt uncomfortable at heart. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba flashed a kindness in their eyes and patted the shoulders of the students. There will always be loss in a tournament. There is no need to think too much about it. The cultivators of Lingyin and Beihai College were strong. The reason Zhang Yunfeng and the others failed was not because of they not being strong enough, but because their opponents were simply just too powerful. Zhang Yunfeng was injured. After Fu Hongba took out the previously prepared healing medicine and gave it to Zhang Yunfeng, everyone turned their eyes to the battle between Xia Jiqing and Lu Jingqi. Not only the students of Kanglin College, also the students of Beihai College were worried about this battle. Both colleges had 3 people who advanced into the next round. The winner of this battle would determine who had the upper hand. The strength of this Lu Jingqi seems a bit stronger than it was at Longguang City. Gong Xiaoqing judged this after seeing the current battle of Lu Jingqi and Xia Jiqing. Although Lu Jingqi and Xia Jiqing were at the same cultivation stage, Xia Jiqing should be slightly higher. But it was impossible to say who would win. It was impossible for Lu Jingqi to hide her strength. I hope that Jiqing can win. Zhang Yunfeng's eyes were filled with hope. She had lost in the first round of the tournament, but now she only hoped that Xia Jiqing could win. In this way, then even if she had lost in the first round, if they could have 4 places, they would hold the upper hand against the Beihai College. Xia Jiqing, you are so arrogant normally, now you aren't so strong. Lu Jingqi sneered, her eyes were filled with ridicule. Xia Jiqing sneered and looked coldly at Xia Jiqing. Lu Jingqi, this trash talking is useless. I have not seen you having the strength to defeating me yet. Seeing that Xia Jiqing had directly guessed her thoughts, Lu Jingqi's face was ugly. She had thought of taking this opportunity to teach Xia Jiqing a lesson, but she never thought that her strength was comparable to her own. She had not succeeded so far. The power within their bodies had already been consumed by more than half. It would not work to continue this way. However, the next moment Xia Jiqing slowly said, "Now it's time to end this battle." Chapter 720. Martial arts skill of the middle mysterious rank. Listening to Xia Jiqing, Lu Jingqi was taken by surprise, before a sneer appeared on the corner of her lips. Xia Jiqing, who do you think you are? It is not that easy to defeat me. Lu Jingqi thought that Xia Jiqing was just bragging. They had not been able to determine the winner so far. But Xia Jiqing had to say that? The battle is not over yet. Wasn't she just being stupid? Then they saw that Xia Jiqing's power was surging, and there was a fierce light in her eyes. Fire dancing whip. When the voice of Xia Jiqing fell, under the horrified eyes of the audience, the red whip in Xia Jiqing's hand suddenly burst into a large flame, like a fire snake, flexible and fiercely attacking Lu Jingqi. This flame was not fake, it really existed. Because everyone clearly felt how the temperature in the surrounding area suddenly increased when the flame appeared. The feeling of Lu Jingqi, who was opposite Xia Jiqing, was the clearest. Sweat was oozing out from her forehead, her eyes also betraying her emotions, showing how nervous she was. She did not think that Xia Jiqing would have such a strong move. It was clearly out of the scope of yellow-ranked martial arts. It was at least mysterious. As for what level of the mysterious martial arts it was, she did not know. That was not the most important thing either. The most important thing was that she did not have such strong martial arts skills. When the strength of the 2 of them was equal, what mattered was martial arts skills. Since she has no martial arts skill that can compete against it, she was doomed to lose this match. The students of Lingying College also had changed their expressions at this moment. They had been mocking the students of Kanglin College, calling them weak, but now it seemed they might even be stronger than Beihai College. This is at least the middle-ranked mysterious martial arts. Xia Jiqing is merely a mysterious heaven-ranked cultivator, but she already has a middle-ranked mysterious martial arts. I am afraid that Lu Jingqi can only lose now. In my opinion, this college is not weak. How come it could be like this in the rumors? There were a lot smarter people at the scene, and they could understand what was going on. Although the last 2 college tournaments last 2 times had been bad for Kanglin College, the performance this time was quite outstanding. The students of Beihai College had ugly expressions. They had originally planned on finishing off the students from Kanglin College. The best would have been to ensure that none of them would make it to the second round of the tournament. However, they never expected that the situation was like this. Their performance was even better than their own. Mo Xinghai and Duan Yinggu looked at each other, their faces ugly. They did not expect that the students of Kanglin College were so good. The last 2 times they were not this good. Huan Qiu's face held a faint and satisfied smile. He was indeed satisfied with the performance of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Well, I had not expected the students of Kanglin College to be crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Jian Qingqiu's face was filled with smiles. These good students, I have not even heard about them before. Huan Chuyu smiled. Their performance is also out of my expectations. Jian Qingqiu looked at Huan Chuyu and noticed that he was confident as he himself. His mood turned worse. What he wanted was to destroy them completely and prove to everyone that the decision he had made was correct. The constant stubbornness of the Kangling College would lead them to demise. However, now the performance of the Kangling College had already been out of his expectations. It is no wonder that their principal so easily agreed to hold the college tournament in advance. They had already prepared for it. The vice president of Beihai College, Song Hongxi, sat next to Lin Yinghao, and his expression was the ugliest amongst all the principals and vice principals that were present. He also had complete confidence in this college tournament, but he had not expected that he would already be feeling threatened before the first round even ended. Lingying College was first place. No one could doubt this. But if Kangling College overtook their college, that'd be the biggest shame. Vice President Song, the strength of the students of your college which have been defeated seems a bit bad, Huan Chuyu said with a casual voice. The feeling of finally being able to mock him was great, and Song Hongxi's face turned gloomy. Huan Chuyu did not like Song Hongxi. He might be the vice principal of Beihai College, but now that they were a dog to the Lingying College, all the power was in Lingying College's hands. As a cultivator, integrity was the most important. But what had happened to Song Hongxi and the entire Beihai College? How many students can be led by this vice president? Song Hongxi looked at him with a sullen look. Lu Jinglin's performance today is poor because she was injured on the way to the Lingying College. She has still not fully recovered. Song Haoxi would never let Huan Chuyu give him a tag of having weak people in his college, and immediately found a suitable excuse. Lingying's Lin Yinghao instantly pretended to be surprised. I see, no wonder this was the result. Since the tournament was about to begin, but she still managed to become injured. She sure is very careless. Huan Chuyu shook his head. The sarcasm in his words was obvious. Over the years, Beihai College has often ridiculed Kangling College, since they had the backing of Lingying College. Every year they would make them lose students. The teachers of Beihai College would go to the countries close to Kangling College and poach the talented geniuses. This had always made Huan Chuyu and Ren Tianxiong feel disgusted. It was obvious that the Beihai College had done a lot of small tricks throughout the years. Initially Huan Chuyu and Ren Tianxiong had no intention of acting on it, but now that things had reached this point, they had completely torn their faces with one another. He did not mind taunting them a bit. After all, you can't always suffer this kind of disgusting behavior. Might at least let Song Hongxi understand what he was up against. Song Hongxi had never expected that Huan Chuyu would change his attitude so much. Even so, he could say nothing in return. Can you possibly say that Lu Jinglin was injured by Bailey Hongzhuang previously? Doesn't that just mean that she was useless? Therefore Song Hongxi can only swallow the bad breath. In fact, Lu Jinglin's show today was truly too unsatisfactory. Bang! A loud noise came crashing down as the hot temperature spread, and out of the flames fell Lu Jingqi's body. It fell heavily to the ground. Seeing this unexpected scene, the audience could not help but burst into discussion. Although they knew the power of the martial art that Xia Jiqing was using was outstanding, they had never expected it to be this shocking. In a battle where Xia Jiqing and Lu Jingqi were completely equal, it was shocking that Lu Jingqi had no resistance at all. She was directly blown up. There was a big smile on Dongfang Yu's face. Is Xia Jiqing showing off the inheritance she got in the ruins? Before this, they had heard that Xia Ziwing had been taught a whip skill in the ruins. Now looking at the power of the move, it was truly powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. It should be. During the time since the ruins, they had already mastered the inheritance from the ruins. From this, she can see that Xia Jiqing had full control over the martial arts. However, the amount of energy needed for this mysterious martial art was a lot, and it was difficult to display it with the cultivation base of Xia Jiqing. After all, the higher rank a martial arts was, the more power was needed in order to display it. If they were not strong enough, and they still forcefully tried using this skill, it might even harm themselves. If she guessed correctly, then this should be a mysterious middle-ranked martial arts skill. However, it should be much stronger than others of the same rank. In fact, if the martial art was higher ranked than that, then it would not be Lu Jingqi that was lying on the ground right now but Xia Jiqing. Lu Jingqi had directly fainted, but Xia Jiqing was not much better off. Obviously this attack had exhausted all her strength. Xia Jiqing wins. When the voice of the judge fell, Xia Jiqing revealed a brilliant smile. She finally won. Bailey Hongzhuang did not hesitate to rush to her side and placed a pill into her mouth. She had used far too much energy in this battle, and there was still the second round coming up. She needed to restore her Yuanli as soon as possible. Hongzhuang, I won. Xia Jiqing was too excited as she waved her hands. This victory was important to her. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and gave a thumbs up. You are great. Because of you, we have overtaken Beihai College. Dongfang Yu and the others were also happy. After seeing Xia Jiqing, they also raised their thumbs. Jiqing, you are so powerful. Beautiful victory. The hearts of the people from the Kanglin College were happy. In the first round they had 4 people advancing. Lingying College had 3 people who advanced, not counting Nangong Aochen, who directly entered the final. Kanglin College also had 4 people, while Beihai only had 3. Soon the judges handed over the results of who had progressed to the second round to Jian Qingqiu. He then threw a glance at the final result and stood up to announce the names. In the first round, those who qualified for the second round from Lingying College are Nangong Xiujia, Gangong Yuer and Jin Xingyu. The ones from Beihai College who won the first round are Xiao Lanmei, Shui Haoling and Nan Yangza. Kanglin College's winning students are Bailey Hongzhuang, Gong Xiaoqing, Dongfang Yu and Xia Jiqing. With the announcements of the results, the cultivators from the schools cheered. No matter what, at least they managed to enter the second round and got some of the limelight. I did not expect Kanglin College to be this strong. They had 4 people who advanced to the second round. It seems that our previous thoughts were all wrong. Damn, I bet on Beihai College winning, but now they already lost in the first round. They are normally so arrogant. This is really shameful. If I knew, I'd have bet on Kanglin College. Currently they have the best odds. Someone had already started a betting pool before the start of the tournament. Because everyone knew that Lingying College were going to be the winners. The gambles were all between Beihai and Kanglin College. From the odds, everyone understood that Kanglin College had no chance to win, so most chose Beihai College. Only a few would bet on Kanglin College. At this moment, seeing that Beihai College was suppressed, their hearts were depressed. Now it was impossible to change their bets, but if they could, they would have bet on Kanglin College. For this reason, Beihai College had become the subject of everyone's ire. The faces of Lu Jinglin and the others had long since turned ugly. They were filled with confidence. They did not expect that only 3 would advance to the second round. They had the fewest cultivators in the tournament now. Their chances of winning were the smallest. Mo Xinghai and Duaning Wu's faces were ugly to the extreme. They used to be so arrogant in front of Lu Huayan. But now they dared not even look at him. It was simply too shameful. The show you displayed today is simply too bad. Mo Xinghai looked at the students behind him with annoyance. He had hoped that they would show off their might and stun everyone at this tournament, but they did the opposite. Lu Jinglin lowered her head. She was without a doubt the worst performer of them all. She felt that the eyes that the mentor used to look at her with would chop her into pieces. On the side, Lu Jingqi was still unconscious. Even though she had been given medicine, it would take some time for her to wake up again. The strength of Xia Jiqing's move was simply just too strong. EU mentors, in round 2 we will do our very best, Shui Haoling said as he clenched his fist. The humiliation he was receiving right now, he would definitely give it back to the Kanglin cultivators in the next round. Lu Jinglin looked gratefully at Shui Haoling. His words had freed her from the previous predicament. Initially she did not like Shui Haoling very much. She always just let him pursue her with no intention of responding, but now she felt that he was more manly than before. Mentors, the current result does not represent the final result. Xia Jiqing has now used all her energy. She cannot perform well in the next round. Nan Yangza slowly said. Seeing the expressions of Shui Haoling and Nan Yangza, Both Mo Xinghai and Duan Yingwu's faces turned much better. This was something they also knew. Although the first round of competition was over with the Kanglin College having more places than them, the second round would begin soon. There was no time to rest in the middle. With the current situation of Xia Jiqing, it was impossible to recover before the beginning of the next round. As a result, she was definitely going to be eliminated. In the next round, no mistakes are allowed. Duan Yingwu's stance was tough. The strength these students displayed represented the strength of the mentors. If the students did badly, it would say that they were bad mentors. Yes, Xue Haolang and Nan Yangzi nodded their heads. They would do their best in the next battle. Compared to Xue Haolang and Nan Yangzi's loud agreements, Xiao Lanmei never said anything, and was as casual as always. Mo Xinghai and Duan Yingwu were both familiar with the character of Xiao Lanmei. He was their trump card. Even the third prince lost in his hands, so it showed that he was not weak. He would definitely walk all the way to the final. Now everyone has an hour to rest. I hope you can adjust your state as soon as possible, and do your best in the next round. Jian Qingqiu announced an hour break, and everyone started resting. There is only an hour. It will be very difficult for me to recover. Xia Jiqing's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. Her previous use of the dancing fire whip had drained her body completely of Yuanli. Even though she had taken some medication, it was not enough to restore her in a short time. It was like a person who was hungry and hasn't eaten for a few days. Suddenly she had food, but because of being too weak, it was impossible to restore one's strength immediately. She could never recover in 1 hour. 1 hour is indeed too little. Dongfang Yu frowned. Fortunately, they had not been injured. Otherwise, they would have to completely miss the second round. This is simply too unreasonable. Zhang Yinfeng's face was filled with disgust. Their advantage in the first round had completely vanished like this. This rule is somewhat unreasonable, but it becomes reasonable when it is the same for everyone. Bailey Hongzhuang was indifferent. This kind of rule was not directed at them, but at everyone, so they could not complain about it. They could only accept it. When hearing her words, their expressions changed slightly. They were very unhappy, but they understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was reasonable. If the other two colleges did not complain, but they did, everyone would have a bad impression of them. Xia Jiqing's face showed a bit of helplessness. If she had known this would be the result, she would not have used the dancing flame whip. It's just that Lu Jingqi was stronger than she had expected. She had no other option than to win this way. Xia Jiqing was depressed. From the beginning, she already knew that with her own strength, it was impossible to enter the finals. When thinking about it, she could not help but be grateful that her first opponent was Lu Jingqi. If she could not deal with Lu Jingqi before the second round, then in the second round, she would be able to help her teammates cause problems. They were there as a team, and all she wished for was to see her team go further. However, she was too weak, wasting an excellent opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang patted Xia Jiqing's shoulder. You already did great, don't overthink. Xia Jiqing nodded and smiled, but within her smile was some disappointment. Jiqing, I will help you with acupuncture. Maybe it can help you increase your restoration rate. Bailey Hongzhuang said slowly. By using acupuncture, she was able to stimulate the meridians and cells in the body, allowing for the body to absorb the qi with the fastest speed. As a result, it could perhaps help Xia Jiqing recover. Hearing this, Xia Jiqing could not help but ask, can it really work? Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly while smiling. I said so, so naturally it will work. Don't forget who I am. Xia Jiqing's eyes shone brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang was a famous medicinal doctor. Hongzhuang, you are the hope of our college, the one we hope will enter the finals. Applying acupuncture will consume your mental energy. Are you sure about this? Zhang Yinfeng was worried. She naturally hoped that they could restore Xia Jiqing's strength. But if it affected Bailey Hongzhuang, then it was not a good thing. Xia Jiqing also quickly agreed. Yinfeng is correct. Hongzhuang, you shouldn't help me. You are the most important. It was already a shame that she had failed, but if she dragged down Bailey Hongzhuang, then she would become the sinner of the academy. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand dismissively. Don't worry. It is just stimulating the meridians. not removing poison or healing someone. It is not complicated and won't require much energy. Hongzhuang, are you sure? Xia Hongzhuang asked uncertainly. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded and smiled. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? Xia Jiqing couldn't help but look at Zhang Yunfeng to hear her opinion, but she also nodded her head. Since Hongzhuang says it's nothing, then let us try it. Next, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out her silver needles, and her energy surged as she placed the silver needles into the acupoints of Xia Jiqing. This was the first time that Xia Jiqing was experiencing acupuncture. She had thought that it would be painful to have such long needles placed in her body, but after Bailey Hongzhuang placed the first needle, she did not feel the slightest pain. Instead, she felt a sense of soreness where the needle was placed, but it was very comfortable. Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a white porcelain bottle and gave it to Xia Jiqing. She said, "There are some returning qi pills here. You should swallow 2 now." If they relied on Xia Jiqing's own ability to restore the strength within this 1 hour, it'd be impossible. As such, it was definitely important to use these returning qi pills. Xia Jiqing looked at the bottle of pills in her hands, and her heart was bursting with emotions. Even knowing that Bailey Hongzhuang was an alchemist, she couldn't help but marvel over her actions. This was completely like eating pills as if they were candy. Bailey Hongzhuang did not intend to make a big deal out of it, even though she was more wasteful than even a princess could be. In fact, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang act like this, even Nangong Yuer's eyes turned strange. A whole bottle of returning qi pills, she would naturally have no problem getting, but giving them to others, that was simply too wasteful. Lu Jinglin, do you know what this Bailey Hongzhuang is doing? Lu Jingqi had already fainted, so Nangong Yuer's eyes fell onto Lu Jinglin's body. In her opinion, the two sisters ought to be similar. Lu Jinglin shook her head slightly. She is just showing off and acting. This Bailey Hongzhuang likes to be the focus of everyone's attention. Hearing this, Nangong Yuer's eyes were getting filled with disgust. There was originally a bad impression of Bailey Hongzhuang, but now she was even more disgusted. Hey Bailey Hongzhuang, you shouldn't be trying to help Xia Jiqing restore her power? Xue Haoling looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a gaze filled with taunt. Everyone knew that Xia Jiqing had spent all her energy on stage, and it was impossible to restore it in such a short amount of time. Although the rest time was short, and they were supposed to spend the time restoring their own energy, Bailey Hongzhuang spent her time on restoring Xia Jiqing's. Was this not the same as looking for a slap in the face? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xue Haoling and said lazily, "Well done, you guessed it correctly." Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang directly confirmed what he had been guessing, he was stunned, but then he laughed. "You really like to pretend that you are generous and unselfish. You let your friends pick an inscription in Wubao Pavilion. Now you are spending your energy to save a useless teammate. If all of you cultivators from Kanglin College are like this, filled with benevolence, I think you should just give up right away." Xue Haoling was quite uncomfortable whenever he thought about Bailey Hongzhuang. It was the most important to restore one's own strength to peak condition. This move of Bailey Hongzhuang was stupid. Not only was she weakening herself, she would not be able to help Xia Jiqing. Even so, Bailey Hongzhuang was too lazy to pay attention to Xue Haoling. This guy was simply too selfish, and was unaware of what exactly teamwork meant. Right now they were fighting for their college, but they were not relying only on their own strength. If everyone else failed in the first round, what use was it if one person advanced to the second round? Xue Haoling, I think that you and the Lu family are very suitable. Xue Jiqing's eyes flashed with anger and dissatisfaction. You are pursuing this Lu Jinglin, and your character is just as bad as the Lu family. You sure you are not one of their sisters? Not to mention these, anyone who dared to mock her and her friends Xia Jiqing would counterattack first. Lu Jinglin and her sister were too much. Now Lu Jingqi had been defeated by her. She thought that there was finally some silence. Yet as soon as this happened, Xue Haoling appeared. Was this not too much? Listening to her words, Xue Haoling's face was ugly. What was the worst way to curse men? That was simply to say that they were not a man. And just now Xia Jiqing had just said it. It was truly unbearable. Xia Jiqing, you are just a waste of a teammate. What is so good about having a sharp mouth? Xue Haolang said coldly. Xia Jiqing turned her head casually. At least I could defeat Lu Jingqi. With such a simple sentence, Xia Jiqing won the victory and slapped him in the face. A loser is a loser. At least she successfully advanced to the second round. This proved that she was indeed stronger than Lu Jingqi, who lost at her hand. Lu Jinglin was annoyed, but Lu Jingqi had already fainted. Even after taking the pills, she was still not waking up. Now that Xia Jiqing said such things about Lu Jingqi, it was really hateful. Kanglin College has lost twice in a row. This time there will be no difference, we will take it. Nangong Xiujia's eyes fell onto the body of Bailey Hongzhuang. The original admiration he held for Bailey Hongzhuang, at the beginning, was now completely gone. This woman is definitely not a simple character. Not just thinking about her and Mo Yunjue's relationship, thinking about Lu Jinglin's defeat. According to the information they had learned, this Bailey Hongzhuang was also a cultivator who had broken through into the innate realm. When looking at her identity, she was simply an ordinary person. But no ordinary person could break into the innate realm at such a young age. This was clearly a genius. Even if he was at the age of Bailey Hongzhuang, he would not be able to break into the innate realm. But this woman had done so. Seeing that Nangong Xiujia took the initiative to find trouble, Bailey Hongzhuang did not stop and continued to help Xia Jiqing with acupuncture. While she sneered, "It seems that the behavior of the royal family is to bully others. This temperament has not changed." When the words came out, Nangong Xiujia's face was ugly. He thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would have some respect for a prince, that she would not say such things here. He did not understand that Bailey Hongzhuang was different. Not only was she not scared, she even said such things in public. A slightly different kind of gaze fell onto Nangong Xiujia. They all had a certain understanding of the second prince's behavior when it came to women. When looking at how Bailey Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia were against one another, could they have something going on between them? When thinking about how beautiful Bailey Hongzhuang was, then they understood faintly what had happened. Otherwise, with the character of Nangong Xiujia, if it wasn't because of a previous conflict, why would he come and find problems with Bailey Hongzhuang? Bailey Hongzhuang, you better pray that you will not meet me in the next round. Otherwise you will die a very ugly death. Nangong Xiujia's words flashed with a cold light, and his words were full of threats. He had no interest in a woman who was already married. Not to mention, this Bailey Hongzhuang had provoked his anger. He had to teach her a lesson. You better pray not to meet me. The face of Bailey Hongzhuang was so cold, her eyes freezing. She had a bad impression of Nangong Xiujia. In a direct confrontation, she had never been afraid. Originally she was too lazy to pay attention to these provocations. But since they came to Lingying College, these provocations and all the sarcasm of these people had never stopped. It was as if they thought she was afraid of them. This time she showed her strength. No matter how powerful her opponent was, she would go all the way. When her words fell, the practitioners present were all stunned. This attitude was completely different from the previous Bailey Hongzhuang. Had the pressure gone to her head? Nangong Xiujia only thought that it was fun, that Bailey Hongzhuang felt herself to be an important person. It was a simple thing to deal with someone weaker than themselves. A simple attack would solve it. Thinking like this, Bailey Hongzhuang was indeed a bit arrogant. However, although she had a bit of strength, should she be so full of it? Instead of taking it seriously, Nangong Xiujia was too lazy to pay attention to it. If he truly began arguing with them, then he would lose out. Xue Haolang was the perfect example of that. Bailey Hongzhuang was seated on the ground and made Xia Jiqing continue to swallow one returning qi pill after another. In the process, Xia Jiqing was stunned to find that the tiredness in her body slowly vanished, and that every cell in her body was greedily absorbing the energy contained in the pills. Xia Jiqing's face was getting brighter, and she admired Bailey Hongzhuang more than before. She was simply a god. After Bailey Hongzhuang took back the silver needles, Zhang Yunfeng and the others came over and asked, "Jiqing, how are you feeling?" "I recovered. The feeling of exhaustion is completely gone." Xia Jiqing had a hard time hiding her excitement on her pretty face. Her whole body was alive and kicking, and her current actions were just proving her physical condition. Understanding the situation, Zhang Yunfeng and the others all smiled happily. They did not expect that in less than half an hour, Xia Jiqing would be able to return to such a level. It was a good thing for the next round. On the other hand, the cultivators of Beihai and Lingying colleges were stunned at Xia Jiqing's expressions. Clearly she was not pretending. They also didn't see any signs of tiredness. After real tiredness, the body would fall into exhaustion, and it would be hard to move. The situation of Xia Jiqing deviated from what they could understand. It was simply impossible to imagine that Xia Jiqing could be restored to her peak condition in such a short amount of time. How is this possible? Lu Jinglin exclaimed. All of them agreed that it was impossible for Xia Jiqing to restore her energy. But the situation in front of them made it impossible to refute. Xue Haolang's expression was very ugly. He had just finished laughing at Bailey Hongzhuang and said that what she was doing was useless. But when they looked at the current situation, wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang impossible to defeat? She was helping the college recover their fighting power. How did Bailey Hongzhuang do it? Xue Haolang looked as if he had seen a ghost. He knew that there was no way to restore energy apart from time. But now this scene had happened in front of them. They still could not understand what Bailey Hongzhuang had done. Xiao Lanmei's gaze fell onto the body of Bailey Hongzhuang. This woman was extraordinary from the first moment they had met. With today's display he felt that she was getting more and more complex. And that silver needle, it seemed very similar to the method that the doctors used to use. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin looked at each other. What an amazing method. If they could master this method, then their situation would be much better. The eyes of the cultivators within the crowd also locked onto Bailey Hongzhuang. They quite liked this girl. Even if she was a student of Kanglin College, she was able to defeat her opponent in a single blow and successfully display her strength. The girl from Kanglin College is very good. How was she even capable of restoring the other's strength? I don't know, this is simply unheard of, but it is really amazing. I think the school is awesome. She might be a true black horse. Even so, Lingying College was still the strongest and Bailey Hongzhuang offended the second prince. She won't have a good end. As soon as the students of Lingying College heard the remarks of the crowd, they instantly began rebutting their words. In their hearts no one was allowed to make problems for their royal family. Bailey Hongzhuang had dared to not put the royal family in her eyes. This was the same as looking for death. Above the stage, on the high platform, Jian Qingqiu looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a strange expression. This had not progressed as he expected. Old friend, what Bailey Hongzhuang used. It could not have been acupuncture. Jian Qingqiu was the principal of Lingying College, and he had seen many things. Although the acupuncture techniques had been lost for many years, this method was very sought after by the doctors, so he still remembered it. Acupuncture has long since been lost. How could it possibly appear in the hands of a little girl? Without waiting for an answer, Song Hongxi had already taken the lead to answer. His face was filled with disdain. What a joke! The technique of acupuncture was a method that many famous doctors had never mastered, and it was long since lost in the passing of time. Bailey Hongzhuang was just a cultivator, not even a professional doctor. How could she possibly master such a method? Hearing that, Jian Qingqiu's eyes changed a few times. Was he really just thinking too much? Although he also thought about it being ridiculous, he could not help but think so because it truly looked like the lost technique of acupuncture. In the next moment, Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked horrified as Huan Qiu slowly nodded his head. Yes, this is the technique of acupuncture. The principal has a good eyesight. When the voice of Huan Qiu fell, Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi's hearts were filled with unspeakable shock. The Kanglin College was too dazzling this time. The strength of the students was much stronger than before. In this team, Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing were first-year students. When they knew about this fact, they thought that the Kanglin College was not as good as the previous years, that the talents were slowly dwindling. Even the first-grade students were sent to the tournament. But when they looked at the situation in front of them, then Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing had both advanced to the second round of the tournament. This proved that the strength of the first-grade students was way stronger than they had expected. "Hey old friend, are you joking?" Song Hongxi smiled a little embarrassed. "Bailey Hongzhuang is a cultivator. How can she master the lost technique of acupuncture?" Looking at the suspicion of Song Hongxi, Huan Chuyu was also proud in his heart. Over the years, Song Hongxi had been ridiculing them and their students. Now he could finally let Song Hongxi look like this. "You don't know about this, but Bailey Hongzhuang is not only a cultivator, she is also a real doctor. If you are feeling uncomfortable, she can definitely cure you. Since you are the vice principal, then Bailey Hongzhuang would even give you a discount." Huan Chuyu smiled brightly. Bailey Hongzhuang was truly the pride of their school. Even if he was the vice principal, he was still amazed whenever he thought about the achievements of Bailey Hongzhuang. She had so much strength at such a young age. Her future was limitless. Jane Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked at one another. Although the smile of Huan Chuyu was ugly in their eyes, they were still too shocked to really care. "The Kanglin College is really amazing, the students are skilled." Jian Qingqiu smiled a little, but his heart still held some disdain. This kind of thing seemed very prestigious, but as a principal he was clear that it was bad for the cultivator. Cultivation was a matter of time and effort. If you wanted to take time off to do other things, then you would lose time on cultivation. At the beginning the gap might not seem big, but as you grew, the gap would be bigger and bigger. It was not a good thing. Huan Chuyu could hear the words of Jiang Qingqiu and understood what he said. In fact, he had previously agreed with him. However, after seeing the progress of Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt that it was truly wrong. In this world, there were some geniuses which could not be counted with common sense. After Xia Jiqing had recovered, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others gathered together. The second round of the tournament was also very crucial. They had to be prepared. "When I first fought against Xue Haolang, I was completely defeated by his inscription." Xiaoyu Haoyan's face was filled with unwillingness. His strength was not weaker than Xue Haolang, but the inscription HA was very powerful. Because of this disadvantage he was defeated by Xue Haolang. If it was a loss because of his strength not being strong enough, then he had nothing to say, but he lost because of outside factors, which made him unsatisfied. Inscription. Gong Xiaoqing's brows furrowed slightly. It seems that Xue Haolang bought an inscription at Wubao Pavilion. His weapon was also inscribed with an inscription, but he had not used it in the first round. As Xiaoqing said, it makes sense. Xue Haolang has always been rich. It is not a surprise if he bought an inscription at Wubao Pavilion. Dongfang Yu snot slightly. What effect does Xue Haolang's inscription have? It is a flaming effect, and it is very lethal. If you are accidentally burned, you need to be extra careful. Hearing this, Xia Jiqing could not help but frown. There was no inscription at the Wubao Pavilion like that with flaming attributes. The dancing flame whip she had inherited in the ruins was a fire attribute, so she was quite concerned about the inscriptions of the flame attribute, just like her character, which was very fiery. On the day of the Wubao Pavilion, she looked for an inscription that had fire attribute for a long time, but in the end she could only give up. She had not expected that Xue Haolang could find a fire attribute inscription at Wubao Pavilion. Maybe they added it later. Zhang Yunfeng frowned. It was not impossible. Just as Zhang Yunfeng and the others were discussing, Xue Haolang was also showing off his inscription at the practitioners at Beihai College. Haha, I did not expect the power of my inscription to be this fierce. Xue Haolang looked smug. He had only thought of using the inscription last night, and he thought the effect was quite good, but he had not expected it to be this good. When Xue Haolang's voice fell, all the eyes of the Beihai College students landed on his body. Previously they just cared about their own battles. As such, they did not notice what the situation of Xue Haolang's battle was. When they heard his words, they were surprised and unaware of when he had managed to get his hands on an inscription. Xue Haolang, where did you get this inscription from? Lu Jinglin's face was showing some curiosity. They knew for a fact that it was not from Wubao Pavilion. Although they went to Wubao Pavilion the next day, the price of the inscription was simply too high. They understood that although the Wubao Pavilion sold inscriptions, it was mainly for the sake of reputation. Selling an inscription was just a bonus. If Xue Haoling had not lost his Qingquan bag, he would have been able to afford one. But his Qingquan bag was lost, so he was powerless. Looking at the curious expressions, Xue Haoling smiled proudly. Previously, the elders of my family took it back to me after attending an auction. I did not expect it to be this easy to use. Then was it not very expensive? The price of an inscription at an auction ought to be very high. Xue Haoling waved his hand dismissively. Not expensive at all. My elder bought 3 copies and gave me one, while the other 2 were given to my brothers. Although Xue Haoling said that it was not expensive, everyone knew the truth in their hearts. Who did not know that Xue Haoling was super rich? Even if he said it was not expensive, it would be expensive for most people. Inscriptions have always been precious, and especially inscriptions like Xue Haoling's that were so good, the price would be extreme. Xue Haoling smiled as he felt the envy of Lu Jinglin and the others. Truth was that this inscription was truly not very expensive. The elder had not cared about it when he bought it, and gave it to him casually. He had originally wanted to buy an inscription at Wubao Pavilion, but the price was simply so high he had to give up. The previous night, he was thinking about the fact that he would be participating in the tournament next, and even if the use of the inscription was nothing special, it might be able to help him a bit. However, after using it today, he found that it was not just a little help, it was a huge increase in power. Xiao Lanmei's eyes fell onto the red inscription on Xue Haoling's weapon. He noticed the effect of the inscription, and had to admit that it was powerful. The inscription masters were truly great. They were able to change something so easily. If the difference in strength between the 2 parties was not too big, then the inscription would directly determine the final outcome. That Xue Haoling is showing off. Cui Haoyan was filled with dissatisfaction. The most annoying guy was showing off again. Xue Haoling also noticed that Cui Haoyan was glaring angrily at him, and provocatively lifted his weapon in his hand, saying with an extremely proud voice, "Idiot, you must blame yourself for not buying an inscription. If you can't afford it, then so be it." Xue Haoling felt no shame with winning by relying on inscriptions. After all, one's finances was also part of their strength. Every genius was produced under the constant use of resources. A poor man could not even afford a weapon, so how could they possibly become a cultivator? Seeing how Xue Haoling was so proud of himself, Cui Haoyan was even angrier than ever before. He had never before seen such a shameless guy. However, he had to admit that what Xue Haoling said was not unreasonable. Because he could not afford it, he was unable to defeat Xue Haoling in this situation. If he had the same financial resources and ability to purchase an inscription, then maybe things would have been different. But it was a pity that this was nothing but his imagination. "Master, why do I feel that this guy's inscription is familiar?" Little Black asked with his eyes filled with doubt. It was as if he had seen this inscription somewhere before. Suddenly Little White's eyes shone, and he said surprised, "Master, isn't this the inscription you made?" The owner had been drawing the same inscription over and over again. It was drawn so many times that it was clearly remembered by them all. This was her inscription. Hearing the words, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly embarrassed. It should just be a coincidence. She had auctioned 3 inscriptions in total back when she was still at Kanglin College. But how far away was Beihai from Kanglin? The chance was simply too small for this to happen. "But master, the pattern of the 6-pointed star is exactly like the one you drew." Bashiha also noticed the inscription mark on the weapon, and kept staring at the 6-pointed star. "Even if it is a 6-pointed star, it is not certain it's the one I drew." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. The pattern of the 6-pointed star is just a structure on the inscription paper. Many inscriptions has such a structure. Although the structure looks similar, it is not necessarily the same effect. "But I think it's the same." Little Black looked serious. "I even dare bet a mal that this is the inscription made by Master." Seeing Little Black suddenly saying it with such conviction, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned slightly strange. After being together with Little Black for as long as she had, she understood its character very well. If it did not have confidence, it would never say such a thing. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at Xue Haolang and say, "Xue Haolang, your inscription is so great. I wonder if you'll let me take a look?" When her words fell, everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. They were frowning, as this was not the kind of behavior that Bailey Hongzhuang had shown so far. Xia Jiqing and the others were also puzzled. Why was Bailey Hongzhuang interested in Xue Haolang's inscription? According to their understanding, she ought to hate Xue Haolang. Xue Haolang's mind could not help but secretly think back to the time they were in the Wubao Pavilion. It had already been proved that she had a certain understanding of inscriptions. Was it possible that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to look at Xue Haolang's inscription and adapt a strategy to defeat him? In Cui Haoyan's heart, Bailey Hongzhuang would never do something without a purpose. She must have a good reason to suddenly do this. Xue Haolang, will there be a conspiracy with Bailey Hongzhuang? Lu Jinglin saw this and could not help but worry. Right now the team of Beihai College was at a disadvantage. If Bailey Hongzhuang ruined Xue Haolang's inscription, then their situation would be even worse. However, Xue Haolang shook his hand and said in a carefree manner, "No, it is impossible to do it in front of everyone." Xue Haolang looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with interest and smiled lightly. "Since you want to see it, then I will lend it to you, but don't break it." Seeing Xue Haolang so proud, the eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but gleam with laughter. This guy really liked to show off. "Don't worry, since you have been so polite, I will naturally not damage it," Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly. Xue Haolang's brows changed slightly as he walked to the front of Bailey Hongzhuang. The sword was shaking slightly before it settled in front of her, allowing her to see the six-pointed star clearly. "Can you see it now?" Xue Haolang asked with a smile. "But I don't think you can understand it." However, Bailey Hongzhuang clearly saw the pattern, and she was slightly stumped. Because this inscription was clearly from her hand, how could it fall into the hands of Xue Haolang? "Xue Haolang, this inscription should not have been bought by your elders in Kanglan City?" Bailey Hongzhuang slowly sounded. She had already heard from Xue Haolang that it was bought by his elders at an auction. In that case, then this inscription was in all likelihood bought in Kanglan City. It is impossible for someone to buy it and sell it in another auction house, after which it would fall into Xue Haolang's hands. The probability was simply too small. When the words came Xue Haolang's expression changed a bit. He had not said this, so how could Bailey Hongzhuang know? On the other hand, the eyes of Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba landed on Xue Haolang's boy. Bailey Hongzhuang would not ask this question without a reason. There had to be something they did not know. However, Xue Haolang, who is a cultivator of Beihai College, had his elders appearing in Kanglan City. That was simply too strange. With the expression of Xue Haolang, Bailey Hongzhuang has already confirmed that she had guessed correctly. Xue Haolang's elders went to Kanglan, and it was likely to be before the tournament began. All along she thought it was only a trap at the college tournament, but she did not expect that the reach of Beihai College had already reached Kanglan College. It was simply too much. Not only the expression of Xue Haolang, but also the expression of Lu Jinglin and the others changed. The situation was never a secret in their eyes. Their purpose was to destroy the Kanglan College. It is just embarrassing to be called out like this by Bailey Hongzhuang. The atmosphere became rather awkward, and the three teams on the ground were all aware of the truth. Lu Huayan and Fu Hongba looked uneasily at Mo Xinghai and Duan Yinggu. The Beihai College was truly more and more despicable. The face of Huan Chuyu was also not very good-looking. They had already noticed the movement of Beihai College, but they did not expect that they would have sent someone else this time. Although the biggest opponent is Lingying College, they would never stoop so low to use such means. On the other hand, Beihai College is like a despicable villain. They did not care if it was doing something unspeakable and made people feel sick. Xue Haolang quickly disagreed. "How can there be an inscription at a place where not even the birds wants to go? I think you are thinking too much." Xue Haolang's eyes were filled with disdain. But at the same time he was uncomfortable because of the words spoken by Bailey Hongzhuang. However, the words of Xue Haolang had successfully provoked the anger of the Kanglan cultivators. What did you say? I think Beihai City is the place where birds don't want to be. Cui Haoyan said coldly. This Xue Haolang was truly the best case of ivory was incapable of coming out of a dog's mouth. Xue Haolang said ironically. Is that so? If the city is a place where birds do not even want to be, then how could I buy inscriptions there? Su Haolang was getting better and better at lying. I told you my inscription was bought in Beihai City. Your jealousy is useless. Hearing this, Cui Haoyan looked at Xue Haolang coldly. In fact, he knew that Songlong did not sell inscriptions. Even so, the city is still very prosperous, but Xue Haolang said that it was a place that not even birds wanted to visit. Beihai City has wastes like yourself. There is no way we would be jealous, Xia Jiqing said. Xue Haolang looked at Xia Jiqing with disgust. You might be good at talking, but you want to sneak into Beihai College to buy an inscription. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips suddenly evoked a smile. Such an ordinary inscription, why would we spend our money to buy it? Her voice just fell when Xue Haolang sneered. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't say the grapes are sour, just because you can't eat them. Is it not obvious? Since you say it is an ordinary inscription, then let's see you come up with one like it. I saw that in your team. Apart from Gong Shaoqing, no one has an inscription. Xue Haolang was feeling upset. The effect of this inscription has been personally tested, and the fire attribute attack was very good. The attack was very explosive, and it was lethal. It was suitable for attacking. The crowd also felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was bragging. Even the most common inscription was not accessible to ordinary cultivators. Even some of them have never even seen an inscription. If you say this, is it not the same as digging a pit for yourself? The eyes of Cang Hongxi was also falling onto Bailey Hongzhuang. There might be some strength to this Bailey Hongzhuang, but it is ridiculous to behave like this. Huan Qiu's eyes landed on Bailey Hongzhuang. He could not understand what her purpose was. Was it to intentionally anger Xue Haolang? However, his understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang was that she would never do such an immature thing. On Bailey Hongzhuang's lips was a ridiculing smile. Originally, she did not understand the full effect of the inscription, and thus wanted to take it out for auction. She did not want to take it out when she knew so little about it. Since then she had focused on drawing inscriptions, and not using them. Today Xue Haolang had helped her understand the strength of her inscription, so she no longer needed to worry about it. If I take it out, what will you do? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Xue Haolang had never expected that she would be so serious about the matter, but he could not help but sigh. If you can take it up, then I will destroy my sword. Bailey Hongzhuang was happy, and she wanted to annoy Xue Haolang. She never expected he would dig a pit for himself. Are you sure you want to do this? Of course I am certain. Not waiting for Lu Jinglin to stop him, Xue Haolang had already blurted out the words. He did not believe that Bailey Hongzhuang could come up with this particular inscription. If she could really take it out, she would not have waited doing it until now. Seeing Xue Haolang's fast promise, Lu Jinglin felt helplessness. She always felt that there was a trap prepared with the sudden change of Bailey Hongzhuang. With her understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang, this inscription was taken from Kanglan City back then. Bailey Hongzhuang had been living in Kanglan City, so it might be possible for her. In that case, I will let you see it. Next, in front of everyone, Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out a thick stack of inscriptions from her Qingquan bag. That's right. It was a thick stack. When he saw the same red six-pointed star pattern, Xue Haolang almost fainted. How is this possible? Are you doing this especially to trouble me? With so many inscriptions, are you trying to sell them? Even if you want to sell inscriptions, do you need that many? Xia Jiqing and the others were also stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang was truly against the sky. With so many inscriptions, how could she possibly be normal? Bailey Hongzhuang took one of the inscriptions and shook it in front of Xue Haolang. Isn't this the inscription you are so proud of? Then Bailey Hongzhuang casually started playing with it, and said, It's just that the inscription is very common. If it is used on a weapon, it will affect the future of the weapon, hence, I have never been using them. I did not think that you got this ordinary inscription, and you'd still be so proud. If I did not show it to you, I am afraid you would not know how big the world is. Then Bailey Hongzhuang took the inscriptions and handed them over to Xia Jiqing and to the others. There was some helplessness between her brows. If I knew earlier that this inscription was considered good, then I would have given it to you earlier, to avoid us being made fun of like this. In fact, Bailey Hongzhuang had some regrets. She used these inscriptions to practice. She never knew their actual strength. If she had known the strength, she would have already given them to everyone. Then at least Cui Haoyan would not have been beaten by Shui Haolang. Cui Haolang and the others accepted the inscription from Bailey Hongzhuang. Their eyes filled with shock and wonder. They already knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was a master when it came to pill refinement, but now they knew she was a master of masters. Has anyone else seen inscriptions handled like this? Apart from Bailey Hongzhuang, they were sure they would never find a second person. The cultivators of Beihai College had been greatly affected. They had seen how much increase in strength Shui Haolang had gotten from the inscription, and they were envious. They would never have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang could take out so many, and even gave them to her classmates for nothing. It was truly shocking. What kind of wonders did Kanglin College have this time? No one was calm, even Nangong Xiujie and the others. They too felt wronged after seeing the situation at this moment. Even if they were from the royal family, it was definitely impossible to come up with so many inscriptions. Nangong Xiujie and Nangong Yujin looked at one another, their eyes filled with disbelief. Having so many inscriptions, just who was this Bailey Hongzhuang? Even the most common inscription like this was impossible for a person to get their hands on. It was difficult to meet an inscription master. Song Hongxi, who had been ridiculing her, couldn't help but change his expression after seeing this scene. The smug smile at the corner of his mouth also quickly disappeared. Huan Chuyu also blinked for a moment, and the smile at the bottom of his eyes slowly expanded. Bailey Hongzhuang was really amazing. However, there were no inscription masters in Kanglin City. How could Bailey Hongzhuang know that the inscription from Shui Haolang was bought in Kanglin? Huan Chiyu's eyes were deep in thoughts. The inscription master who had drawn this inscription had to have a certain relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang. Otherwise, why would she have so many of the same kind? Vice President Song, it seems that you have been mistaken. Huan Chiyu smiled faintly. He felt a victory when he saw Song Hongxi defeated by his students like this. Song Hongxi's expression was not good. The move of Bailey Hongzhuang was different from anything they could have possibly thought of. There were so many inscriptions, and they all made people wonder whether it was authentic or not. However, as a vice president, he also knew that he could not come with any bad remarks. He could only let Huan Chi be proud. Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi looked at one another. According to the news they had gotten, Bailey Hongzhuang was the ace of Kanglin College. Although there had already been a battle, no one knew her real strength, as Lu Jinglin never really got to put up a fight against her. Now it would seem that this Bailey Hongzhuang was not a simple character. Hongzhuang, are you giving these inscriptions to us? Cui Haoyan's face was filled with shock. Although her actions had already explained her thoughts, he still couldn't help but ask. After all, the value of an inscription was much more expensive than that of the medications. Such an expensive thing, could they accept it just like that? Bailey Hongzhuang was casual, and her beautiful face was adorned with a smile. Of course. Hongzhuang, this thing is too expensive, we can't. Dongfang Yu felt that they could not accept such an expensive thing. Not waiting for Dongfang Yu to finish his words, Bailey Hongzhuang directly interrupted. Everyone here is my good friend, so just accept it. It's just that. Dongfang Yu was somewhat embarrassed. Even ordinary inscriptions were hard to get your hands on. What's more, the effect of this inscription was already so good. It felt weird accepting it just like that. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. This inscription is really not worth much money. Don't feel bad about it. Also, it is good to have the inscription for the next round of the tournament. Hearing this, Dongfang Yu could not help but nod on behalf of himself and the others. In fact, The next round of the tournament was the most important. The inscription played a huge role and would allow them to get better results in the tournament. Xia Jiqing was not sure what to say at this moment in time. She could only say that she was happy that she was friends with such a local tyrant. Zhang Yinfeng and the others looked at the inscription in their hands. Their hearts were full of gratitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang. If it was changed to another person, it would be impossible to be as generous as Bailey Hongzhuang. However, this scene was not the same for the cultivators of Beihai College. Everyone knows that inscriptions are valuable, but Bailey Hongzhuang was giving them away so easily, so annoying. Then they thought about how Bailey Hongzhuang had not cared about giving away the inscription in Wubao Pavilion to Gong Shaoqing. Back then they thought that she was being overly generous intentionally, but now they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was not just generous, she simply did not care about inscriptions. Xue Haolang was the richest person in their team, but a single inscription of his made him so proud. Although he said that the inscription was not expensive, seeing his behavior, it was still not as cheap as he claimed. However, when seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, one could truly see the gap that existed in their finances. This was like the inn, where the wannabe local tyrant met a real local tyrant. My God, I thought that Kanglin College was barren land. I did not expect that the students were so rich. It's good to be a teammate with this Bailey Hongzhuang. Being able to be given an inscription, just like that when they sell at such a high price. That Xue Haolang from Beihai College was truly an idiot. Bragging about his inscription was nothing but a joke. In fact, Xue Haolang's previous arrogance had caused many to feel dissatisfaction. Although it was good, was there a need to show off like that? It was as if he was the richest man in the world. But Bailey Hongzhuang directly hit him in the face. Feeling everyone's eyes on him, Xue Haolang's face was also ugly, but he was unable to say anything. His elders had taken 3 inscriptions at the auction. Only ghosts knew how Bailey Hongzhuang had managed to come up with so many of them. Moreover, as Bailey Hongzhuang said, this inscription was not expensive. He had never used it before because he had felt that with the price, it could not be very good. But he had never expected the results to be so differently. When everyone asked him, he was naturally vain and wanted to brag, saying that the price of the inscription was very good. He had never expected that all this would be the same as making a wedding dress for Bailey Hongzhuang, allowing her to show off instead. No, he had already shown that the inscription had a lot of value. But he was unable to say anything now. The most important thing is that even if he did say something now, then no one would believe him. He did not understand. The inscription master who made this inscription had an amazing skill. Why was the price of the inscription then so low? Although there is a lot of money in the world, who did not want more money? If Bailey Hongzhuang knew the thoughts of Xue Haolang, she would be unable to hold her laughter. She had no idea about how much it was worth, or even what it did when she put it up for sale. She never really cared about the price. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows raised slightly, and a smile appeared on her lips as she looked at Xue Haolang and casually said, I heard that someone wanted to destroy their weapon? When the voice fell, Xue Haolang's face turned purple. He had never expected that he would dig such a trap for himself. Originally, this was not a problem. Who would have imagined that Bailey Hongzhuang was able to take things to this step? For some time he was unaware of what to do. Xia Jiqing and the others held interested expressions on their faces. Xue Haolang, you still don't want to destroy your weapon? For Xue Haolang to act like a villain, they had long since been used to it. Now that there was a chance to return some of their grievances, they would never allow Xue Haolang to escape. Cui Haoyan stared at Xue Haolang. This guy won because of an inscription. He had also been ridiculing them time and time again. It was simply intolerable. Xue Haolang, were you not very vocal before? Have you suddenly turned mute? Once the weapon is destroyed, his combat power would weaken tremendously, and he really regretted the words he said before. Lu Jinglin's face was also ugly. If she had stopped him before, things would not end up like this. In the current situation, there was simply no way to escape. From the beginning to the end, Xiao Lanmei had the attitude that nothing mattered to him. It was as if Xue Haolang was not his teammate, and no matter what he did, it had nothing to do with him. Suddenly Xue Haolang's eyes turned bright. He suddenly thought of an excellent method. His ugly face slowly looked better. How can you be so sure that it is the same inscription? Maybe it just looks the same, but the use is very different. Xue Haolang never believed that Bailey Hongzhuang was able to come up with so many inscriptions at once. The value of inscriptions were incredibly high, let alone so many of the same kind. He was sure that only an inscription master could come up with that many inscriptions of the same kind at one time. What's more, many inscriptions looked similar, but were fundamentally different. Previously he was only scared by the inscriptions that Bailey Hongzhuang had taken out. At this moment he thought that he could blacken Bailey Hongzhuang's reputation. With the voice of Xue Haolang falling, the atmosphere of the scene changed again. As a result, no one could know who was speaking the truth. Cui Haoyan and the others also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. They did not know the specifics of this inscription. However, they had absolute trust in Bailey Hongzhuang. If she said it was the same inscription as the one Xue Haolang had, then they would believe her without a doubt. Xue Haolang proudly looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. He would like to see how she was going to continue being so arrogant. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a slight sneer as she said, "What if I prove it?" She was the most familiar with her own inscriptions and the effects of these inscriptions. However, with the practice she had experienced, the inscriptions in her hands might actually be even better than the one in the hands of Xue Haolang. Xue Haolang wanted to see Bailey Hongzhuang panic, but what he saw was her complete confidence and calmness, causing his heart to feel unhappy. Damn it! Since the first time they met Bailey Hongzhuang, they had never been able to understand this woman. Normally, every time they have been in a conflict, it was this woman who has solved it. Was she really so good at psychological fights? After eating a loss, Xue Haolang also learned how to be smart, and did not continue to be smart. You should first prove that it is the right one. Just a few pictures won't fool me. At a time like this, Xue Haolang turned out to be like this. He really doesn't know what it is like to die. Little Black screamed out. This guy was simply too much. He is just causing more and more trouble, but he will fall into despair soon. Little White's eyes were filled with a smile. Their master was not going to let them go easily. Xue Haolang was causing so much trouble, and their master had never been soft. For Xue Haolang's actions, they did not take her by surprise. Even in the coffin he would not understand his mistake. In this case, she did not mind ensuring that he really died. Bailey Haolang nodded to Cui Haoyan and smiled. Cui Haoyan, if you don't mind, please engrave the inscription into the weapon and show Xue Haolang the truth. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang, Cui Haoyan nodded with no problems. No problems. Previously Xue Haolang had been ridiculing him. He couldn't stand it anymore. Now that he had a chance, it was possible for him to return the ridicule. There was no chance he would miss it. Xia Jiqing and the others had expressions of watching a drama unfold in front of them. Xue Haolang was going to get a good lesson. Zhang Yinfeng and the others were very calm and relaxed. Bailey Hongzhuang had never made mistakes before. They just waited to see the good show. The scene attracted everyone's attention, as no one knew if Bailey Hongzhuang was correct or not. After seeing the scene, the people from Beihai College could not help but worry. The moment they could have been relaxing was now being used on inscriptions. Bailey Hongzhuang seemed so confident. If it was really true and Cui Haoyan proved everything that she said was true, then Xue Haolang was truly in a pickle. Xue Haolang's eyes landed on Cui Haolang. He would lie if he said that he was not worried, and his palms began to sweat. Cui Haoyan looked at Xue Haolang with a provocative look, and directly added the inscription from Bailey Hongzhuang on the weapon. There was a flaming red light that blinded them all. Before the inscription that had originally been printed on the inscription paper was now merged onto the weapon. Everyone could not help but feel that the inscription seemed to move slightly, and it appeared that the weapon was now shining slightly. At this moment, everyone was certain that the inscriptions that Bailey Hongzhuang had brought forth were real, not fake at all. However, they still did not know if the inscription of Bailey Hongzhuang had the same effect as Shui Haoling's. It seems that it is a real inscription. I think that the inscription is the same as the one Shui Haoling has. Otherwise she would not take the initiative to say so. Then if it is true, did that not prove that the people of Beihai College went to Kanglan City? When the words came out, the people could not help but change their expressions slightly. If it was truly like this, then they had made quite a few bad tricks behind the backs of the Kanglan College members. Just as everyone was busy discussing the effect of the inscription, Shui Haoling's face was turning pale. Because the inscription was exactly the same as his own. Even if they weren't the same, they were simply too similar. At this moment, he realized that Bailey Hongzhuang had recognized his inscription, hence asking for permission to see it. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.